Hey everyone, this is Dave Pipe, Motorcity Mechanic. Got another video for you today on a 2007 all the way up to 2014 Jeep Wrangler. I'm going to show you step by step how to remove the electric fan assembly. Now, to get those Christmas tree fasteners off, or as I call them, I've got a couple tools I use to help pry them up. That way I try not to damage them. Sometimes though, unfortunately, they've been on there for so long or don't want to come loose that you can't help it. We got one here. Work on number 2, 3. This one's being a little tight. Because sometimes they'll come up real easy. Sometimes they won't. And then sometimes the ones that don't want to come up will eventually break. That one came off fine. And we'll sit that to the side. And we got a little more easier access to the shroud for the radiator fan, as well as the overflow hose and the radiator hose. So we'll start working on getting a few items off. We'll probably go ahead and move on to getting the airbox out of the way next. Now with the airbox, has a rubber boot that goes into the intake. There's a band clamp. It's got an 8mm on it. I'll just go ahead and back that off. Alright, a little bit more. And we do have the air intake sensor we got to disconnect, release. Now, I'm not going to take the whole box out together as one piece, so what I'm going to do is unclamp the air filter box. It's got 4 clamps, and it's got a hose right here that leads up to the valve cover on the passenger side. We'll go ahead and work on getting this off, sit it to the side. Now we can get the air filter out. Go ahead and inspect that, see if it's needed as well. And then the lower air filter box. Now it's held in with some plastic pins going into rubber bushings. Try to take care of taking them off. They do have a tendency sometimes to want to snap off because they stay in that bushing pretty well. So I try to work it off in some corners the best I can. There we go. Here are those plastic pins I was telling you about. And the rubber bushings are mounted into the plastic housing right here. So now what we're going to do, we're going to work on getting the overflow bottle off. Now getting the overflow bottle off is pretty simple. One thing we want to do is go ahead and disconnect the hose going to the radiator neck. Now the container just sits inside the shroud and a little groove that's there, and it goes down, snaps in. Sits in there kind of loose, so you can just probably basically just grab it firmly enough and you can get it up. There you go. We'll go ahead and sit that off to the side. Now when you sit it somewhere, keep an eye on the hose and the fluid, because if there's fluid in it, you have a tendency to spill it everywhere. Kind of what I recommend doing is putting the hose inside and finding a place where you can store it standing up. So before we can get that radiator shroud out with the electric fan, what we're going to have to do is we've got a total of 3 plastic Christmas tree fasteners holding a plastic air dam up under that we've got to pop loose. So we get up in there with our little tools that we've been using already to try to get the front off. We'll try to get down in there the best we can with the camera rolling. A little tight squeeze. There's 1, 2, and we got 1 more, and then we can move back to getting the fan out. This one could be a little difficult. And there we go. We got all 3 loose. Now we can go ahead and drop the vehicle back on the ground. Alright, so now we're back to the top of the engine compartment, and we're going to work on getting the shroud out. It's got the electric fan. Now you got 1 main connector for electric fan. You just got to squeeze in on the lock and then slide the connector off, sit to the side. Now it's held in place with 2 8mm bolts. You can find them directly up under the radiator neck over here, as well as directly up under the radiator hose up here. We'll go ahead and start getting them off. Now the bottom of the fan sits in a little track, so that's why it only uses 2 bolts. The bottom of the track actually holds it in place. Now your AC line's a little bit in the way over here on the driver's side. I'm just using a long extension. If you need to, you can use a 1/4" ratchet with a short socket. You can get up in there as well. So there we go, we've got the last bolt. Now all we should have to do is just lift it straight up. We'll go ahead and get it out of the engine compartment. So there you go. If that's you taking your fan off, you've got your fan, get you ready for your replacement fan. All you're going to do is line it down in there. Make sure the bottom two go in the little groove. And then you're going to line it up, put your bolts in, hook your connector up, and go ahead and reinstall the airbox as well as the upper plastic shroud and the lower. So there you go. Now you've seen step by step what you need to do to remove that electric fan assembly from that Jeep Wrangler. It's pretty cut and dry. Just follow the steps. You shouldn't have any problems. At this point, I ask for any kind of thumbs up on YouTube. It's always greatly appreciated. Don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter. And you can also catch me on Instagram as well now. Also, if you get any kind of questions or comments, you can actually email me. Email me at david@motorcitymechanic.com, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, check out the rest of my videos.